Welcome to North America Show, where I misspell words in the title of my shows. I'm not just sure what discussing oliograch. Oh, what a that's great. The oliograch Bernie should be an interesting episode. Why I spend the episode defining what an oleograch is. Just noticed it like 5 minutes before he came in. Wow, I'm tired. I'll tell you why here in a minute, but it's a big episode. Got a big channel announcement coming up, a bunch of other stuff to talk about. Uh yeah, I know. Corey Barton for $2. Thanks so much. Channel announcement. I'm not really Big Soda. I don't believe you, Corey. I know that you're working with Ian Miles Chung to bring me into the orbit of Big Soda. So we'll get to that channel announcement a little later. But I think it's pretty big news. I'm excited. Um, why am I tired? Why am I misspelling words like oleograch? Ugh, pretty embarrassing. I'm not gonna fix it either. I'm just gonna let it go. Today was Hank's first T-ball, and my goodness, what? It's man, he's 4, so he turned 4 in January. I think he is the youngest person. I think the cutoff was you had to be you had to be 4 in January. I think if you were 4 in February, you missed the cutoff. So we just made the cutoff, and he did good for like a solid half an hour. And then what really got him was the concept of waiting in line for your turn. So like you wait in line to field a grounder. He didn't want to wait in line. He's just like, either I'm fielding the ground or I'm going to play in the dirt. What's this waiting stuff? And then you're trying to help out with other kids as well. And God bless the people that are the official coaches. Maybe I'll be able to help assistant coach a little more now with my channel announcements going to be and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it was exhausting. My man Hank was exhausted. It's probably like a 15-minute drive to the ball field. He was asleep before we got home. He's up now, but he was exhausted, and I think it's important because he doesn't get an opportunity to be around a lot of other kids. So it's definitely it was a different thing for him. And it was like, it wasn't just us practicing, it was every team there. It was the meet and greet. And then they had stations like grounder station, and then hitting from the tee station, and then running the bases station, and then throwing station. And so there's probably 40, 50 kids, about 6 years old there. And Hank's the youngest one. And I think he just got overwhelmed for a while. But he had fun. He said he had fun. It was exhausting for me, and I know it was exhausting for him. And Mom was there too. Mom did a great job of helping out. So it was a lot of fun though, and I'm looking forward to it. It looks like we're gonna have one practice a week and one game a week until about the end of July. So it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Hank is not homeschooled. He hasn't started school yet. He will actually be going to Catholic school, the same school that my wife went to. So they offer preschool, and so he'll be starting preschool at a Catholic school here in the fall. Uh, Cody Folsom, thanks so much for the $5. Says hope all is well, Rob. Sorry about the Pickens trade. The Steelers. They might as well just tank next year. Go for Arch Manning. But yeah, anyways, we're here to do a show. So let's do a show. Enough about my T-ball excursions. So I will be talking about the announcement for my channel later in the show. I thought first we'd talk about the oliograch Bernie Sanders. Do they still beat the kids? There was no beating of children while I was there. It's really interesting to see sort of the different levels of understanding of the game based on like from a 4-year-old to a 6-year-old. So it's interesting. Spiro, it's great to hear from you. I just saw your message on X. So it's good to see you, Spiro. Thanks so much for being a member again. I will try to keep kicking arse. I will do that. So thank you, Spiro. Always appreciate it. I'm wishing well for you too as well, man. So Bernie had this quote. He was interviewed. Let's see if I can find the quote. We'll start with that. So Bernie's getting interviewed by Brett Baer, and It's all about fighting the oligarchy. I am once again asking you to donate money to help me fight the oligarchy, which I was silent about for 4 years as the billionaires helped the Democratic Party consolidate power. But now I am concerned about the oligarchy because some billionaires are helping the other party. Crisco, thanks so much for being a member for 7 months. Says, remember to like, favorite, and subscribe. I appreciate it, man. All donations are appreciated. So Bernie's asked by, and listen, I think Brett Baer, you don't have to like Brett Baer. I don't watch a lot of Fox News. I watch almost no Fox News at all. In fact, since Tucker's left the channel, not only do I not have cable, so I'm literally not watching Fox, but even watching clips of Fox online, no joke, I've probably seen maybe 30 minutes total since, how long's Tucker been gone of Fox News. I definitely have watched more CNN, MSNBC, because I'm usually watching clips of like Morning Joe, Jake Tapper, Rachel Maddow, people like that. Achilles, thanks so much for the 5 gifted memberships. Really appreciate it, man. Really do. Where did I learn to debate? We can talk about that in a bit, Austin. We'll be talking about some debate when I talk about my channel announcement here coming up. So first we're going to talk about Bernie. So, Bernie's, I think that Brett Baer's always been someone that, even if I don't agree with him, he at least gives the appearance of trying to be an interviewer that's not just lobbing softballs. And he's also not superly aggressive that's just like spiking the ball. And he'll do that to Trump and he'll do it to left-wingers. So Bernie goes on Brett Baer to complain about the oligarchy. And, Brett asked him the question that's on everyone's mind when this was going on. When you saw Bernie and AOC jet setting in a private jet around the country, yelling about climate change, it's like, you realize like every one of those private jet trips you're taking is more than the average person puts into CO2 in a year in their day-to-day life. But we're being controlled. We're being told we have to do more, but people like Bernie, the rules don't apply to them. So let's see the clip when he's asked about this, and then we'll go from there.
Alyssa Slotkin, senator from Michigan, she said, you shouldn't be using oligarch. It's over people's head. You've gotten criticized from other people. Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour, paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. That you've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years. How do you push back on both of those things?
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
No. It doesn't. But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
No. You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
And you think that this is hitting a mark? You think it's
That's the important part. See, when Bernie does it, it's important. It's very important. He's got important things that he needs to accomplish. So thanks so much, Sci Guy 33 for $2. Says hit the subscribe, hit the notification. Thanks, Rob. Thank you, Sci Guy. I appreciate it. Now think about what he's saying here. Now, isn't this reminiscent of going back to the pandemic days? Oh, here's another thing I wanted to show you. So then you have Andrew Yang. He's going to speak up. Remember him? The, send everyone money guy. Give me a second. He says, Bernie Sanders is 83 and had to be in multiple states in the same day. In that situation, you fly private. The rules are different for them. They're important, good, moral people. That's always the case for these Democrats. It's always the case. The rules that they proclaim for you do not apply to them, ever. It does not apply at all. One of the most infuriating, amongst the list of stuff that happened during lockdowns and the pandemic, to me, there was a lot that directly affected me, people I know, people in my community. But the one that didn't directly affect people in my area in rural Pennsylvania, my family, my work, or anything like that, that caused me the just most teeth-clenching rage was the mayor of Chicago. What was her name? I'll think of it here in a second. Let's see. Lori Lightfoot. Remember this? Here, let's bring up Lori Lightfoot so you can see a photo of her. There she is. Lori. Now, far be it from me to insult someone's appearance. I know I'm not the world's most handsome man, but her appearance is actually important to this story. You remember when Lori Lightfoot gave this press conference and she was outed because in Chicago, she forced all beauty salons to close down. And then it turned out that she was going to one in private and getting her hair and makeup and whatever done. And she was confronted about this. And what was amazing was she was unabashed, just like Bernie there. No apologies. No, I refuse to apologize. She was just like, yeah, personal hygiene's important to me. For me, it's important. Her looks are important to her, which I just thought maybe seeing a picture of this woman's looks, wow, you let that stew. So I guess personal hygiene wasn't important to anyone else in Chicago. Bernie Sanders says, I will not, no apologies. When you're running a campaign, you must fly private. Andrew Young says, he's 83. He has multiple stops. What can you do? Well, geez, Bernie, if you want to talk about the oligarchy, you don't think that some CEO of a business that has to attend multiple business meetings, implications of which could affect thousands upon thousands of employees, you don't think they'd make the same argument? Well, it's important that I be able to fly private. I can't be waiting in line. I have multiple meetings to attend. I can't be distracted by the people on coach flying commercial. I have to have a private. Now, I'm not saying that as someone who will never be wealthy myself, most likely, that there aren't things to complain about sort of the extremely wealthy class. Certainly there are complaints. And it's one of the reasons that I think that there is some significant overlap with populism on the left and populism on the right. Like I have populism on the right, you know? But let's not get it twisted. There's this idea, I think, that I just don't believe is the case in most of the time, that like these billionaires are just like sitting back on their yachts, smoking cigars and doing nothing. Like you may hate Elon Musk, and that's fine, but he's like doing stuff. He's sleeping on the floor like at X. You might say he's not productive, but he's there. He's milling about. I don't know how many nights Elon has where it's just like, you know what? I'm just going to go to the bar and watch the game. Yeah, there's like now the celebrity appearances you see when he's at the UFC fight with like Trump's team or whatever. But Bernie, someone says, is Bernie advocating to ban private flights? I don't know if he's advocated specifically for that policy. It's irrelevant. He talks about the need to institute a bunch of Green New Deal-esque policies for climate change when private flights are far worse than all of the things that the Green New Deal type policies have talked about. Banning combustion vehicles for people, gas ovens, things of that nature. And he's railing against the oligarchy. Corey Barton for $2 says, Andrew give you the most accurate compliment, Rob. Thank you, Corey. I appreciate it. The point is, as is always with Bernie, when he talks about, oh, all of this wealth that's consolidated, the oligarchy, people with wealth, the excess that they live with, do they really need all of this? He exempts himself. And that's always what these socialists do. I've told you the story that I got from Jordan Peterson about Orwell writing the book, The Road to Wigan Pier. And so he gets paid by these socialists in England to write this book. In the first half of the book, it's typical socialist, like legitimate criticisms, talking about the plight of these workers at this place, Wigan Pier, and how horrible their lives are. But then the second half of the book's like, but none of these so-called socialists care. They don't care. They're just using the plight of these people to attack those with more than them. Remember when I was debating Fatty and we talked about this? Bernie in the 70s, there should be no millionaire senators. Well, if you adjust for inflation, Bernie now meets the very criteria that he was criticizing back in the 70s. Now the problem's not millionaire senators. Now it's billionaire senators. You see, as always, exactly what Bernie does is acceptable. Anyone with more than him is an oligarch. They shouldn't be influencing politics. Elon Musk in politics, that's bad. Donald Trump in politics, that's bad. J.B. Pritzker, a billionaire, that's good. That's okay. That billionaire's okay. Gyrodatus. How did I pronounce it? Gyrodatus. Thank you. We'll just call you Gyra. Thank you. For $10 says, good luck in your streaming career, Rob. God bless your family. Thank you, man. That means a lot. Thank you. That's Bernie. If you're really concerned about climate change to the fact where you're going to lecture other people about why they shouldn't be allowed to have a certain pickup truck or they need to do more, why can't you fly commercial? Why'd Bernie have to do multiple rallies a day? Why couldn't he take a bus and do one rally a day? He had to fly private? Radical Coder says, I think Bernie would agree with the CEOs I mentioned also having a good reason to fly private. Great. So then who are the people that Bernie would say need to change their behavior with climate change? Does Bernie agree that my friends that all drive pickups all have a good reason? Because most of them do. Do I have a good reason to own multiple cars? Because I do. So who is it? Who are these people that are engaged in excess? He criticizes the oligarchy all the time, but you're saying he would agree that the CEOs? I'd find it difficult to believe that Bernie Sanders would say, I understand why people have private jets and fly them that are CEOs because they are busy people. I disagree. I don't think he would be saying that. James asks for $10. Thanks so much, man. Says this is nothing new. John Kerry is a climate czar and Bill Gates being questioned on flying private. And of course, their time is too important. Also remember seeing a picture of a line of jets at Davos. Right. I remember hearing like a story about like Leonardo DiCaprio one time flying in a private jet for like literally like a 30-minute flight to speak at a climate change conference. It's like you just spent more CO2 in that 20-minute flight. To what? To complain about climate change? Gizmo, thanks so much for the $20. He says, I've been to Wigan Pier. Great museum about the coal miners. That's awesome, man. I bet it was very interesting. It's always rules for you. You need to make sacrifices. It's you. Under the pandemic, you weren't allowed to go to church in many areas. You weren't allowed to go visit your family in nursing homes. You weren't allowed to go to your job if you were non-essential. Heck, some people weren't even allowed to go to public parks. But you could go out for Black Lives Matter. You could go to the French Laundry if you were Gavin Newsom. If you were my governor, Tom Wolf, here in Pennsylvania, you could lecture people in Pennsylvania, tell them that just because their county political leaders questioned the lockdowns, that if they didn't change, he would take away your license to operate a business, not theirs, not the politicians, your license because you lived in that county that was defying him. And he said you were a coward if you wanted to go back to work, if you didn't like the lockdown. And then weeks later, he violated his own lockdown order to go march with Black Lives Matter. And when asked about it, they said, well, what we're doing is important. In other words, what you're doing is not important. As they were locking you down, remember the huge funeral they had for, what was the civil rights gentleman that died? It wasn't Clyburn, was it? I'll think of his name in a second. Give me a second. I'll look it up. Lewis, that's right. How many funerals did they have for Lewis? Yeah, John Lewis. Lavish funerals. They're having parties at Martha's Vineyard. Remember Barack Obama's? But boy, oh boy, you couldn't go to your job. You couldn't go to church. You couldn't have a wedding for your daughter. It's always like that. Why is it? It's because they feel they are morally superior to you. So the rules don't apply to them. Let them eat cake. You can imagine it. Well, we all need to tighten our belts, food rations, fuel rations. Oh, not for me, though. Not for me. I'm one of the good ones. My work is important. Not yours, though. Your work's not important. I need to fly private. It's important to me because I'm doing important work. But not you. You're the problem. If the pandemic and the lockdowns didn't prove that that's who these people are, you saw on the channel yesterday, I was talking about in the show yesterday. Now, a congressional committee showed that the FBI covered up the political ramifications or the political sort of origins of the congressional baseball shooting that killed or that injured Steve Scalise and attempted to kill a bunch of Republican senators. What's the first thing this guy, HN, who's like a lefty that watches the channel, what's the first thing he said? Well, the FBI must have had good reason to do that. They were trying to stop copycats. I'll guarantee if a Trump-inspired shooter goes out and shoots Democrats, and then we find out 7 years later that Trump's FBI covered up the political origins of that, I'll guarantee that the Democrats are like, oh, I assume it was for a good reason. A good reason. Must have just been to stop copycats. That must be why they did it. I show this clip all the time. It was outside of Netflix. When Dave Chappelle had a stand-up special and Netflix employees were protesting because he had anti-trans jokes. And I forget who it was. It was a comedian. Was it Vito? Was that his name? Anyways, it was some comedian. He shows up and he's holding like a broomstick with a makeshift sign on it. And it says something effective like comedy is funny. You know, basically his protest was like, dude, it's just jokes. Jokes are good. We should defend jokes. I agree. And it's all filmed. And the lefties there, they circle him and they take his broomstick and they rip the sign off. Now it looks like he's just holding a stick. And as they assault him and break his property and rip the sign, they immediately scream, he's got a weapon. He's got a weapon. And the guy says, why are you doing this? Does anyone remember what the member of the audience said? The group of people that were attacking him? He said, why are you doing this? What did they say to him? I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the exact language that they used. Why are you doing this? Why did you just break my property to falsely make it look like I have a weapon and then immediately call the police on me? Yeah, they said, because you're awful. That's what they said. Because you're a bad person and we're good people. So we could break your property, we could assault you, and then the very police that we would criticize if they took any action to any group of people that we think should be given carte blanche because they're oppressed, we'll call on that very police to stop you. Why? Because you're a bad person and I'm a good person. That's why. Project VO Pod, what's happening, man? For $10 says, yo, Rob, looking forward to you going full-time in a few months, especially since I told you we need you at full-time. Super Saiyan debate level. Thank you. LOL. God bless, Rob. Be following closely. Thanks. I look forward to talking to you again, man. Thank you so much. Janice, thank you for $10. Says, welcome back, Rob. Saw your video early. Sorry to hear about your work. Trump and Doge got your job too. Damn GOP, no one else is safe. The Trump, he got me. I do make that joke a lot, though. It doesn't matter who's president. Like, anytime something happens in my life, like mowing the lawn, your mower gets stuck in the mud. Damn Trump. Thanks a lot, Trump. It's good stuff. That's the Democrats in a nutshell. Why is it okay for them to riot over and over and over? And it's like, well, it's mostly peaceful. And then Republicans do it one time and it's like, oh my God, it's the worst thing in the world. Because the Republicans are horrible, evil people. What they were trying to accomplish was anti-democratic. They were trying to steal this country. And the Black Lives Matter and Antifa people, they're fighting racism and police corruption. So, yeah, maybe they broke some eggs that shouldn't have been broken, but ultimately they're good people. It's a good purpose. That's always the case. Andy No's been reporting. I've seen the videos. Now you see these lefties. I showed one video yesterday. They caused $1 million worth of damage at one university there, University of Washington or something in Oregon. $1 million worth of damage at a state institution. And mark my words, if there are any people there on student visas that were caught up in that and they rightfully get deported, you're going to hear the Democrats gnash their teeth and scream, you can't do that. It's just free speech. But God forbid you take Nancy Pelosi's podium January 6th, right? Bernie Sanders himself. I've gone through this, I don't know how many times. Congressman Gifford gets shot. Someone did correct me the last time I talked about this. I thought she was shot at a university. She wasn't. She was shot at a supermarket that was doing sort of an event. But the guy that shot her was this crazy dude from a university that used to put YouTube videos up, him losing his mind of him at the university, like fighting with professors, fighting with people. And so he went to this event and it wasn't really political. He was insane. He shot her. But that didn't stop Democrats, including Bernie Sanders, from fundraising off of this. They accused Sarah Palin because she put sort of a pamphlet together showing areas that needed to be targeted for political victories. And it had like a little bullseye over that district. That was clearly a dog whistle for use violence. Just like when Trump says fight like hell. Clearly that's him calling for violence. Abject Fool, thanks so much for the $5. Says, Rob, did you have somewhere to donate so YouTube doesn't take 30% off the top? We'll talk about that by the end of the show. Thank you. I'm going to have a P.O. box hopefully tomorrow. So if people want to send me direct checks or something like that, we'll do that. And then I'm in the process of working something else out as well. I'll give you some more details when we get to the latter portion of the show about my channel announcement. But those are things. I actually went to get a P.O. box the past 2 days, and I don't know what's going on at the local post office, but no one was in there. You could still get in, but no one was there. First time I thought, well, maybe it's lunch break. And then the second, I think that because we're in a small town, like the hours are like every other day, that they're there like before noon and then afternoon. So I caught them on the, I do have PayPal. So you could donate to PayPal anytime you want, and that's probably better. Let me look up my PayPal login, and it's something that I should have. But I think I'm just at Rob Noor on PayPal. But yeah, I think that's. But yeah, thank you for asking, though. Let me check that real quick, just to make sure. Then we'll get back to this. Money's important, so especially now that I'm going to be doing this full time. Let's check the old PayPaler. I'm at Robert Noor at PayPal, so I'll put that. Excuse me. I was a little tired, so I was drinking this sugar-free Celsius. I don't know if you guys have had these. I enjoy them thoroughly. And I'm not advertised to say, I'm not being paid to say that. I particularly like these Fuji Apple Pear. Pretty good. Of course, it's no Sour Patch Kids. Sour Patch Kids. Truly an American snack. I'm sure it's not even made in America. Yeah, Darth Grumpy. We'll talk about that. I promise we'll get to that. We're Norbiters. My fans are the Norbiters. So that's what we're going with. Stream Elements and Ko-Fi don't take a cut. I'll have to look into that. I haven't tried the Ghost Energy, but I know what you're talking about, HN. So, yeah, I'm going to be working for. Don't worry, we'll get to it. So yeah, these lefties they're burning down, campuses and stuff again. Where will the outrage be? Ho hum. Back to the Bernie thing, though. Fundraises off of Congressman Gifford's shooting. Is it even safe to be a Democrat and walk down the streets of Arizona? Then, shortly thereafter, one of his supporters shoots up Steve Scalise in a Republican ball field that we now know was covered up by the FBI, the political motivations for that. Did Bernie Sanders say, my rhetoric needs to change? Is it even safe to be a Republican? No. Bernie Sanders said, all violence must be condemned. Nancy Pelosi was asked about it specifically, and she was incredulous. How dare you? How dare you assume that Democrat rhetoric could cause this? Republican insane person does something. What's the narrative? Oh, it's because Republican media. You remember when you had that Parler was on the App Store, was one of the fastest growing social media apps, and then one of these crazed lunatic shooters supposedly had a Parler account? Oh boy, take it off the app. It's dangerous. That's dangerous. We can't have Parler anymore because this lunatic had. How do you think that would work if a left-wing shooter ended up having a Blue Sky account? You think they're taking that off the app? If they had Facebook accounts or Instagram, you think they're shutting those sites down? Of course not. That's different. It's different when they do it. Democrat gets shot, it's Republicans' rhetoric fault. Republicans get shot, all violence is bad. Toke for $5 says, be cool if you do a review for Rules for Radicals with receipts of lefties you've debated. Good luck going full time. YouTube needs it. Thanks, Toke. Yeah, it's definitely an idea. Now, what's the utility? I know you always have someone who come on, why do you even talk about these double standards and hypocrisy? The hypocrisy shows two things. They don't care about what they're claiming to, but they know you do. Easiest example, kids in cages. Kids in cages were bad. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden said it was a human rights abuse. Then when they got into office, there were 3 times more kids in cages. What did they say? Well, those kids are different. F them kids, right? The kids in cages under us deserve it. It's not the same. What's that show? One, they never cared about kids in cages and all the Democrats and AOC that were crying about it. And second, they know you do. They're not going to be hypocritical and focus on something unless they know that it'll have an effect on their opponents. Mr. B, thank you so much for $20. I really appreciate it, man. Says, sorry to hear about your job, but the silver lining is now your channel gets to grow even bigger and you get to work from home. That's absolutely right. We'll talk a little more about that here coming up. Thank you, though. Appreciate it. The easiest example that you can see of this double standard, you see James Lindsay doing it right now, is when people that aren't Christians appeal to your Christianity. Well, what would Jesus do? Jesus wouldn't do that. Jesus would be open borders. Jesus wouldn't be tribal. He wouldn't do that. They don't care. James Lindsay and so many of these people on the left that aren't Christians, they don't care at all. Or how about recently when Trump's team puts out an obvious joke photo of him as the new pope? Oh, that's offensive. That's offensive to Catholics, says a bunch of people that aren't Catholic. A bunch of people that, you know what I would find offensive if I was Catholic? I would find it offensive, abortion would be offensive to me. Or a bunch of people celebrating sin, such as the LGBT community. That would be offensive to me, not a little joke. That's what would be offensive to me. They don't care about offending Catholics, but they know you do. Oh, well, geez, we don't want to be offensive to Catholics. We actually do care what Jesus would do. So we'll hold you to a set of standards that we have no interest in holding ourselves to. Joshua Michael says you have 150 IQ. I don't know about that. I think people think I'm smarter than I am. In some senses, I'm good at talking about what I'm talking about, but I'm kind of an idiot outside of that. Disregard libertarian. Come home, Rob. Become who you are. I'm more of a populist than a libertarian, but I am Christian. HN says Republicans care so much about open borders that Trump and the Republicans have tried passing so much legislation since January 2025. The irony is, unlike you, I'll be honest. Yeah, you're right. Republicans actually support open borders. That's why they told Trump when he was running on that promise in 2016, it was a loser. All of the insider Republicans were like, oh, okay, you won the primary, but cut back on the open borders stuff. That's a losing issue. Democrats want open borders because they want a change in demographics and they want a voting base. Republicans, traditional Republicans, wanted open borders because it's cheap labor for their donor class. They both want open borders because they want a globalist system where national borders are eroded. Yes, James Langford put forth this amnesty bill that would have enshrined into law, allowing basically catch and release and a bunch of these people, like up to 4,000 a day, to come here legally. We were told over and over by people like HN, by people like Joe Biden, by people like Kamala Harris, all of the Democrats I debate. Oh, see, it's clear that Trump doesn't care about the border because he was against that bill. And then it took Trump a week in office to make border crossings one of the lowest they've been in the history of the country. We were gaslit in the most obvious of ways. Anyone who's not completely indoctrinated. The only people that bought the gaslighting from the Biden-Kamala team were the same people that bought the gaslighting that Joe Biden wasn't cognitively declined. Oh, well, 2020, the border, we didn't care about. 2021, we didn't care about the border. 2022, we didn't care about the border. 2023, we didn't care about the border. And then in 2024, we're like, wow, there's a problem at the border, and it's all Donald Trump's fault. Forget about the 12 million plus people that we let in. That was all an accident. It's all Trump's fault somehow. But yeah, you're right, HN. There's a lot of people in the Republican Party that claim to care about a bunch of... Let me give you another example. Republicans claim to be fiscal conservatives, and yet the bills they're pushing certainly aren't fiscally conservative. What's that have to do with what we were talking about here with the Democrats, though? They claim some moral, virtuous high ground, kids in cages, and what you're doing is evil. You have kids in cages. Then they get into power and have 3 times more kids in cages, and what do they say about it? Do they say it's a human rights abuse? No, of course they don't. Channel announcement was not made yet. We're getting to it here soon. We were told that Trump's border wall was racist by Democrats. Remember when Democrats were responsible for the longest government shutdown? Here's a little history reminder in case you're wondering. I remember watching people like Jimmy Kimmel go on national television and cry, "Oh my God, Republicans are responsible for shutting down the government. Kids won't get their WIC checks." Oh. Then Democrats had one of the longest government shutdowns in history because they refused to fund Trump's border wall request for $14 billion or $40 billion, whatever it was. They have billions to send to their friends in USAID for trans education in Afghanistan and all sorts of other projects. But securing our border, it wasn't just that they said the wall wouldn't be effective. They said the wall was racist. It's racism. Border walls are racist. Oh, by the way, let's fund Israel's border wall because somehow Israel's border wall isn't racist, but the United States border wall would be racist. Go figure that one. Then in 2024, Kamala Harris is running on, oh, and by the way, if I'm elected, we'll build more of the border wall. But wait a minute, I thought it was racist. Today, there was a story from the New York Post about this woman. I'm going to say something. A lot of people aren't going to like to hear this, but this is the truth. It was a woman was pulled over for speeding. I don't have all the details. I read the story, but this is the gist of it. We'll paint it as rosy as possible for this woman. She was pulled over for speeding, a traffic violation. Turns out that her family was here for like 10 years illegally. Now they look to be deported. Now, I know what people are going to say. It's actually not that simple. There's more to it than that, and they didn't assimilate, and there was other crimes alleged. But let's just, for the sake of argument, just say it's that. She was caught speeding. Turns out she's illegal, and her family's illegal. Now they're going to deport them. I feel bad for that. I do. But that's where we're at. They need to be deported. Java Crow says, best way to send super chats. Well, YouTube's always an option, but you could go directly through my PayPal at Robert Knorr, and they take less. And then soon I will have a P.O. box that you could send me a direct check if you like, which will take none. I'll also be talking to people. Gave me a couple options of ways that you could donate that cost $0, so I'll be looking into that as well. Yeah, Jazz says, how about them saying no one's above the law? So they're going after Trump, their political opponent. No problem. They're going after Trump's attorneys to disbar them. No problem. But if the Trump administration decides, hey, we think this judge behaved illegally, oh my God, that's corruption. Right. They never cared about political targeting, but they know you do. They don't care about the rule of law, but they know you do. Emily, thanks. She says hi. Member for 7 months. I've appreciated all 7 months, Emily. Thank you. No one's going to send checks to a P.O. box. Some people have in the past, so. They don't care about these things. They don't care. And that's fine if you're just honest about it. I actually respect the lefties that are like, we hate you, we think we're evil, and the rules don't apply to us and they do to you. But the problem is they gaslight you. Why would you ever believe anything these people say? The people that looked you in the eye and told you, I don't see a crisis at the border. What are you talking about? And then all of a sudden an election season was like, oh yeah, there's a problem at the border and it's Trump's fault. And that's why you need to vote for Biden or Kamala. The people that looked you in the eye and said, these are cheap fakes. I don't see any evidence of Biden's cognitive decline. If they're going to lie to you about something so obvious, why all of a sudden are you going to believe them when they're like, wow, we're really concerned about the rule of law. We're very concerned about that. No one's above the law, they said. And now they say, oh my God, you can't arrest judges. Yeah, you like my Pisco hat? Thank you. To be honest, Pisco gets more victories than the Pirates, which isn't saying much. I just don't care what these people say. I'm going to be on Raging Tomatoes show the last Thursday of the month. And I've never done that show, nor have I seen that show. I am aware of her. I like her. But I guess the way it works is I pick a topic, and then there's going to be a one-on-one conversation for an hour, and then they open it up to just bring in a whole panel of people to argue against me. And the topic that I have chosen is, one second, so I get the wording. Where you at? All criticisms of Trump by Democrats and media should be laughed at and ignored. That's the subject that I will defend. I don't care what they say. Oh, Trump about the border. I don't care. Oh, Trump about rule of law. I don't care. Laugh at them, ignore them. What about Pete Hegseth using Signal? I don't care. You people do not care about these things. I'll listen to people that weren't Democrats that want to talk about those things. I'll listen to them. Absolutely. And I've done it. I've talked. Such when I talked to Ryan McCulley, a lawyer, about the problems with some of the questions I had about, is Trump going too far? against due process with some of these Alien Enemy Act. I've talked about that. I've talked at my own about when I think Trump's going, but I'm not going to listen to these Democrats that supported that. I don't care. The topic again was what I will be defending. All criticisms of Trump by the Democrats and media should be laughed at and ignored. That's the statement that I will be defending. Good. I hope Radical Coder is there. It'll be fun. I'll laugh and ignore him as well. So, when you hear about, anyways, this woman that was deported, or that's looking at deportation, who got pulled over for speeding, I do feel bad. I legitimately do. But that's where we're at. We have to now be strong and strictly enforce the law, because Democrats had 12 million people come in 4 years. They ruined it for everyone. They appealed to our goodwill. But don't you have a big heart? Aren't you a Christian? We have to accept the tired and the poor from the rest of the world. They did it so much that it became a problem that's untenable. They lied and gaslit you the whole time and said, we're not doing that. It's not a problem. It's not. No. What are you talking about? And then they pretended to care. And then as soon as they lost the election, they're like, yeah, you can't deport any of these people. How many times have I debated people about this Garcia person? Well, you can't send him to El Salvador because there was a withholding order that he can't be sent to El Salvador. Yeah, but he had a removal order. So does that mean you would be okay if we sent him to like Guatemala? No, you can't send him there either. Basically, you have to leave him. You have to leave him in the country. That's the only solution. Oh, and the same will be true for almost all of these 12 million people and any other illegals. Well, what can you do? Someone was on X. They made a comment to me. No, we don't have to deport this person. Instead, what we should do is let them pay any back fines or whatever, and then give them a pathway to citizenship. Right. I tweeted out here the other day, Paul Krugman. Let's see if I can find this. Well, as I'm looking for this, I'll say, so I feel bad for this family, but they should be deported. And if you're listening to me and you're an illegal, do the right thing, self-deport. You should be worried. You may get pulled over for jaywalking and they'll find out you're illegal. And just like that, they'll send you home. So why don't you just make arrangements and leave now? That's what you should do. Because of the open border policies of the globalists, in the face of them, the Democrats, radical decisions need to be had. I'm not for breaking the law. I'm not suggesting Trump's team break the law. But they should enforce the law as strictly as possible to every single illegal. And you might say, but Rob, before you said, well, the illegals that haven't broken the law and that are here and they're actually of benefit, we should find exemptions for them. I'm sorry. Send them home, all of them. No exemptions possible anymore. As soon as you give one exemption, the next and the next and the next, and then the next 1,000, then the next tens of thousands, then the next hundreds of thousands, then the next million. No exceptions. Send them home. And then those that were the better of them that could benefit the country, if they want to apply the legal way, maybe we make some way for them to wait outside the country until they do things the right way. Every illegal in this country should be fearful at a moment's notice that they could get pulled over for something innocuous and be sent home. That is the way it should be. And it's not because I hate these people. It's not because I don't have a big heart. I do. But that's what must happen, because our good nature has been taken advantage of by the people that want to radically change our country. And we cannot do it anymore. So please, if you don't want to have your life upended at a moment's notice, plan now. Make a plan to self-deport. And And then I want to find this Krugman thing. Here's Paul Krugman. He's gonna explain to you about rural white men. He's gonna talk. I'm a rural white man. Isn't that nice? Let's see what Paul Krugman thinks about me.
Now, I do think that this is not a permanent condition. The craziness really comes from almost more from cultural, ethnic issues than anything else, because you have a lot of the real craziness comes, if you like, from rural white Americans who feel that they're losing their country, they're losing ownership of the country. And they're right. I mean, we are becoming more diverse, more multicultural, and they are, in the end, they are not the future. In the end, the power they still have will go away, but it's a very difficult time until then.
Thank you for your honesty, Paul Krugman. Thank you. I appreciate that. What is the compassion I'm supposed to have when they're blatantly announcing to me, the goal is to make you irrelevant? That's the goal. You're the problem, Rob, and other, quote, rural white men. You're the problem. And yes, you're correctly identifying that we want to displace you and take what little vestiges of political power you have left. We want to take that away from you. How much power in our system right now, particularly before Donald Trump, but even with him there, do you think that, quote, rural white men have? How much power do you think they're exhibiting culturally? How much power do you think they're exhibiting politically? We saw this with Black Lives Matter. Somehow you had what was this supposed revolution, the first revolution in history, that was the top revolting against those without power. The problem was rednecks. That's the problem. It's these damn rural white men. They're the problem. So you have groups like Nike saying Black Lives Matter. Meanwhile, they have near slave labor conditions in China to make their products. You had banks that had investigations for lending practices to the African American community, but all they had to do was say Black Lives Matter, and now they're the good guys. Jack of Trades, thanks for the $5. Says, hey, Rob, can we listen to some selections from Kanye's new album? We'll have to go to Rumble for that. I don't know. YouTube will be down. So now you have people like Paul Krugman saying, yeah, rural white men, they're the problem. And they're worried they're going to lose their country. They're right to be worried, because what little power they have is going to be stripped from them. There's this song from this group, Drive-By Truckers. I like the Drive-By Truckers. Their politics are garbage, though. They're lefties, but that's okay. I've long since realized that when it comes to entertainment, very few people actually culturally or politically align with me. So I'll take what they say and interpret it through my own filter, right? And they have this song called Bob. I love this song. It's a great song. And let me get the lyrics. There's one lyric in this song that always stuck with me. He says, Bob still got an antenna on the pole. 2 channels come in, 2 more come and go. He used to watch the news, but he don't anymore. Ain't none of it new. It's the same as before. And then this is the key part. He figures all any of it's any good for is keeping everyone bored till there ain't nobody like Bob anymore. They're just waiting for us to die. That's what it is. Here's your bread and circuses. Just die. Shut up and die. My people, the people in rural America, that's what I focus on more. I don't focus a lot on race. But if they're going to make it about race, rural white men. Much of this country has been built on the backs of blue-collar rural men workers. And as this country sold them out in the name of globalism and in the name of increasing Wall Street and increasing the GDP, they're the one group that's been targeted as they don't even get to complain. Culturally, that group's still the problem. They're racist. Rick Wilson said this once. We're, quote, 10-toothed rubes that are concerned about the brown horde coming through our border. I'm not saying that there aren't significant problems in other communities. Certainly, there are a lot of complaints that people in inner city black communities have to complain about. I'll never know the fear of sending my child off to school where there are gang shootings on the bus route. That's something that is a unique, horrific thing that so many people in the inner city have to deal with. But at the very least, people in the black community, the inner city community, at least get to air their grievances. What are you told as a man or as a white person or as someone from rural America? What are you told? You're the problem. You're the oppressor. You have too much power. We can't wait for you to lose power. We can't. Oh, it'll be so great once white people are no longer the majority. Oh, Paul Krugman says, yes, we can't wait for rural white men to no longer have any political power, as if we have loads of political power right now. And yet they'll mock you. James S. says, for $10, thanks, says Krugman's hiding his own supply, counting GDP dollars. The cities is where money gets counted, not where the productivity gets done. Agreed. They just want us to die. Imagine that. And then they appeal to our empathy. How dare you? You're the immoral person if you have a problem with us saying we want to totally replace you. So what little power you have left, we want to eliminate that totally. And if you have a problem with that, you're immoral. You're racist. You're a bigot. Is that what your God would do? Is that what Jesus would do? You want to wipe us out. When do I do call-ins? Not today. Usually I do them on Friday. We'll see about it tomorrow. So excuse me when I see these double standards of the Democrats making these appeals to morality. They don't care. And I don't care what they say. That doesn't mean everyone I know that it's a Democrat's a terrible person. I'm not saying that at all. I have many Democrat friends. And if you're watching and you're like, I'm a Democrat, but I don't believe this, that's fine. But make no mistake, the people in charge, that's their belief. Ilhan Omar, was it her, I think, that just said the other day, maybe we should profile white men. They're the problem. Imagine immigrating to this country, being put as one of the most powerful people in the country, winning political office, and then saying, you know what we should do? Profile and target the people that were the majority of this country. They're the problem. Postal Joe, thanks so much. By the way, great picture there. Love me some Seinfeld. Thanks for becoming a member, man. Appreciate it. Rockley, I get what you're saying. Rockley is going to say, well, what ethnicity, what religion owns much of the media empire? I talk about this all the time. No doubt people that are Zionist have undue influence on so much of our culture and politics. And it is a real problem. That doesn't mean that I'm looking for Jewish people under every rock or hate and despise Jewish people. People go too far. There are people that are legit racist when it comes to people of Jewish ethnicity, and I have no time of day for that. Then there are people that are raising valid criticisms about the undue influence. There's certainly a problem to be talked about. You know, I can't remember. Maybe it was James Lindsay, but I don't want to smear him. I don't know if it was him exactly. But you have these people talk about, I saw this thread once where one of the people like that was saying like, well, you know, the idea of, you know, securing borders for, you know, because you're afraid of changing demographics and stuff like that in the United States, that's bigoted and we shouldn't do that. And then someone responds like, do you feel the same way about Israel? And the answer was, we have to understand if Israel didn't do that, then they would quickly be displaced in their own country. Ha, really? Let's go back to what Paul Krugman just said. So it is a problem, but I don't think it's the overlying wholesale problem that the people that just want to yell about Israel every day are claiming. Postal Joe, thanks so much for gifting 10 memberships. I really appreciate it, man. What's the proof that Israel or Zionists have unnatural control over our government? The fact that their lobbying is so intensive that we make all sorts of foreign policy decisions on their behalf. The fact that even the Trump administration and Republicans right now are pushing forth bills that are basically tantamount to hate speech bills that talk specifically about not criticizing Israel. The fact that we have a bill that's being pushed out there that says that any American company or entity that supports the BDS movement, which is a movement to boycott people that engage in sort of financial arrangements with the country of Israel, can face up to 20 years imprisonment. There's no other country that we have that arrangement with. Max Reddick, thanks for the $5. Says, hey, Rob, any chance you're having peeps on tonight? If so, send me the link. I'm not tonight. I'm going to start talking about some channel stuff here, but maybe tomorrow evening. But thanks, Max. I appreciate it. I will absolutely look forward to talking to you in the future. So there's clear double standards on these sorts of things. Jews are good rulers so far. Fair enough. There's an argument to be had. I talked about this, I think, in the channel the other day. Like, there's an argument to be had that maybe we should have an oligarchy. Maybe the people that are the smartest and the most productive, maybe they should have undue influence over our country. Maybe it's better for everyone in the long haul. I disagree with that, but at least it's an argument. But the gaslighting of like, oh, no, you can't be tribal by people that engage in their form of tribalism. As a rural white man that Paul Krugman saying, oh, they're the problem and they have right to be fearful because they're going to lose what power they have. It's considered tribal for me to be against that. That's tribal for me to be against that, says someone like James Lindsay. Oh, that's racism. Why you can't speak up against that? Outrageous. Of course I can. That's not to say that you can't start from that premise and then become a racist. You can. Anyways, tomorrow we're going to talk more about race tomorrow because I think we're going to talk about this Shiloh lady that said the N-word to a kid. Obviously, I'm against that, but we're going to talk about what I think is represented by so many people that seem to be virally like sending money to her, because I think it's representation of so many people are getting fed up with this clear double standard. So it's something that I'll be talking about probably tomorrow, unless other crazy news. Also, we didn't talk about the Pope. I know that, a new Pope from Chicago was appointed today, or I don't know, voted on, however they do it with the white smoke. It seems like a woke Pope, but I don't know. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. I saw Charlie Kirk saying he's pro-life, but he seemed to have problems with J.D. Vance and Trump's stance on immigration. So we'll see about that. But for now, I thought we would switch gears and we're going to talk about my channel. So let me give you a brief rundown, if you've been following me the past couple of days, of what's going on with my channel and what put me in the position I am. And then I have a big announcement to make. So, can I mention how Epstein was a Mossad operative? I don't know that that's definitively proven, but I would say that it's pretty, because there were connections that his family had to Mossad, and it seems pretty evident that he was working for Western intelligence, and I would say that that's probably Mossad as well. And sort of what the accusation is, this hasn't been definitively proven, but what the accusation is that he had connections to groups like that were then using the videotapes that they had of powerful cultural and political leaders around the world engaged in compromising situations to help influence politics. The Jews did everything according to this chat. I haven't read the chat that thoroughly. No, the Jews haven't done everything. If they're saying that, that's mistaken. However, giving the history of your statements, H-Shan, you're probably misrepresenting what many people are saying in the chat. So, nonetheless, back to now we're at a minute. We've moved on from that. Now we're talking about my channel. So just to give a brief summary, not to get too into what we've talked about the past couple of days, here's basically what's going on. I do home health care. I work at minimum half the hours of the week. So that means I'm going in, literally, there's only 2 of us that work at this individual's home. I work with people that are adults with intellectual disabilities, things like autism, intermittent explosive disorder, other learning disabilities, some people that are nonverbal, people that have other significant medical conditions, but always adults. I've never worked with children. The type of facility that we do is they basically have their own home, and then we come into that home and help them with their life goals and help them with their health. That could mean things like doing medical assist to get out of bed, helping with hygiene issues, bathroom issues, preparing meals, helping with medication, helping with goals like maybe, health goals such as exercise, or helping with life goals such as it's being important to try new things, meet people in the community, etc. In a nutshell, that's what I do. And it's a job that doesn't require any sort of degree. In fact, there are people that have my very position with a GED. The only thing you need to do is pass an FBI background clearance, that you haven't harmed people in the position of care, like children, etc. Other than that, they'll pretty much hire anyone. I've done this line of work off and on for about 17 years, though I've been at my current company about 14 years, primarily working with one individual or for one individual in their house. That individual has basically became family to me because I literally spend half the week every week there. And it's actually more than that, because just because you're there half the week, well, then you have to understand there's things like training that you need to do. CPR training, for example, would be one of those. So you have to take those trainings when you're not at work. So maybe I spend half my hours at work, and then every other week I have to drive out to the office and do a 4-hour training. Needless to say, it's a lot of my life that's been invested in that. And it's very difficult now that I have a child who's getting to the age where he's going to be doing sports and school activities that I'm going to want to be part of. And it's actually hard because he's getting to the point where he knows my schedule, and he gets very sad when I have to leave. And then I'm a big softie and I get sad when I have to leave, because when I'm leaving, I'm not leaving like, hey, I'm going to work this morning, I'll see you later tonight. I'm leaving like, hey, I'm going to work, I'll see you in 4 days. And it's tough. It's tough to do that every week. So I've been thinking about what my future would hold anyways in this line of work. I make basically $21 an hour, but I do okay because I work so much overtime. I'm usually averaging about 90 hours paid a week. So that's where I've stood. Person that I take care of is going through some very challenging medical situations. I'm not going to get into more details than that, but it may result in the fact where I will be unable to provide care. It will probably require professionals that are more qualified to me to provide the care that would be necessary for this person. And I have no interest in continuing in this line of work after 14 years, primarily working with one person. If it would mean having to travel hours and hours, which that would be the case if I'm not with this individual, to do this work, or to get attached to someone else. I'm just an old man. I don't have time for it. Along with all of that have been people that have been suggesting that I try to stream full time, but it's obviously a risk, because let's say I try to stream full time and the majority of the income I would get would have to come from a place like YouTube. What if I get banned on YouTube tomorrow? Then all of a sudden, now I have to look my family in the eyes and say, sorry, we can't pay the mortgage this month. Also, there's a matter of, can I make as much money on YouTube as I am at my current job? The answer to that's going to be a definitive no, at least not in the short term. But people have told me maybe you could build your channel up if you're able to invest full time into it. So that's sort of where I've been. My future is up in the air with the current employment that I'm in because of things that are outside of my control, such as medical situations that I may not be qualified to take care of the individual that I support. I mentioned yesterday as a big announcement to the show that I had an offer that was on the table that, although it wouldn't completely replace my income, it would be supplemental enough that maybe it would give me an opportunity to take a risk and take a chance on myself and become a full-time streamer, in addition to working with this other group having to do with sort of streaming. And that was a possibility. It seemed to be positive response for people, which I'm very excited about. I had mentioned that I'm going to be relying more on people's generosity and donations, because this will go from being a hobby for me where I make some extra dollars to my primary source of income. And I was humbled at how generous people were yesterday. I don't expect people to be able to give that much every day. I totally understand that, but it was very humbling, and it made me feel really good to know that it is a possibility that it's something that I would be able to do full time. However, what I was unable to do was discuss who the group that I would be working for was until we finalized some things. And so I am now able today, I believe that I have finalized what my working relationship will be with this group, and I'll be able to discuss that now. So there were a lot of guesses of what the organization would be that I would be working for. Before I say what that organization would be, here's what I want to say. I will not be discussing how much money I will be being paid. I will not be discussing like the ins and outs of what I'm doing for this organization every day. However, ethically, I feel that I owe it to everyone to be forthright. And anytime someone's paying me to be in any sort of business relationship that could anyway affect any of the streaming that I'm doing, I feel that the ethically responsible thing to do is to let an audience know that. For example, if I'm working for the Daily Wire, it's not the Daily Wire, but if I am, and then I'm reviewing a Ben Shapiro debate, I think that it's pertinent information to the audience that they know that Ben Shapiro is basically signing paychecks for me. It's the same argument I made with left-wing streamers that were being paid by left-wing groups. I think if you're being forthright that, yeah, I'm an employee of this group, as far as I'm concerned, it's no one's business, the exact nature of the finances of what's being discussed or whatever. So I'm not going to get into details of that. But I am prepared to now announce that starting Sunday, I will be in the employ of a group here, and I'm prepared now to disclose what that group is. So we'll see if anyone has any guesses. Now, I'm very nervous because I'm afraid that people will be very upset. So please give me a chance before you jump the gun and get upset about who this group is to explain what that will mean for me, right? So does anyone have any guesses what the group will be? I think that it could. Tim Pool's a guess. I saw Progressive Victory PAC was a guess. The Blaze was a guess. Pisco's group was a guess. The Young Turks, the Crucible Timcast. Yeah, you guys did get it. It's sort of awkward because I've criticized someone who works for this group heavily for being in a similar position to me. But after having talked to them for a long time, I think that I now understand where this person's coming from, and I want to talk about it. So I have been given an offer, and I've accepted from Progressive Victory PAC. To me, I think that the key is what they've talked to me about is that I'll still be allowed to defend Donald Trump, but they want me to focus more on sort of the criticism that I have of him and of other Republicans. And I think because of that, I'll be able. No, I'm just fucking kidding. I'm not working for Progressive Victory PAC. There's no chance in hell. Come on. I hope you have more faith. I can't even keep that lie up anymore. I was starting to vomit a little in my throat. I'm not working for Progressive Victory PAC. The real truth of who I'll be working for and be in the employ of is Andrew Wilson and the Crucible. Andrew reached out to me and offered me compensation to come to work for him and the Crucible, and I gladly accept that offer. I think that Andrew Wilson is one of the most amazing people in this space. He is. I've never been. I worked with the Arena. I did their show, but that was just sort of the super chats that came in. I would get a portion of those super chats. I will be an employee of Andrew Wilson and the Crucible. I'll talk a little about what that means and what's that to be expected of that. But I think that this will not change my content, whatever, for two reasons. One, because Andrew is a fantastic guy who has no interest in having any control over the content of what my channel will be. So it's not as if he says, hey, you got to talk more about Christian nationalism, or you can't criticize, any arguments that I make. None of that is part of it whatsoever. It has nothing to do with that, as I'll get to in a minute. And so I think that I already align 95% of Andrew Wilson and of what the people at the Crucible are doing. And not only on the cultural and political issues, but I think we align in our goal, which is we want to dominate this space. We have seen every institutional advantage on these online spaces, particularly in the political and debate spheres online, institutional benefits given to people that are on the left or are Democrats. So the people that are running Twitch, the people that have ran YouTube, the people that run Facebook, and formerly the people that ran places like Twitter, it was clear that you had every institutional advantage by being someone on the left. Andrew talked to me years ago about how I was being blacklisted by many of these people that run sort of the debate sphere on places like Twitch and YouTube. And he's like, yeah, there's all these machinations behind the scenes. There are people literally saying, well, don't bring Rob Noor on to debate this, whatever. I just laughed it off. I'm just some dude that's doing this as a hobby, whatever. I like debating. I'll do whatever. And I've seen increasingly that is true. You oftentimes have to jump through hoops of going through some left-wing content creator that has more advantages than you, that has a built-in audience that's bigger than you. If you need any more proof of this, go back and see why I don't stream on Twitch anymore. Because I was debating Connor Connor called me a homophobic slur something like 12 times. He gets a 7-day ban. I get a 30-day ban. Meanwhile, Hassan, around the same time, basically called for the murder of a sitting U.S. senator, and he got like a 1.5-day ban. That's the sort of institutional control. And that's not even getting to things like, that's just banning. That's not getting to like shadow banning, demonetization, algorithm preference, etc. What Andrew Wilson has been able to do with the Crucible is use his own sort of sweat equity, money, etc., to build a brand where he has now almost single-handedly taken that brand to the mainstream. And so now he's probably the fastest growing political content creator in the country. And he's forced himself through sheer will to now be mainstream, where he's a regular on Piers Morgan. He's a regular on places like Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, etc., because of the hard work and energy that he's put in. He has always been incredibly generous to me and other content creators. Ironically, even people on the left. Find someone that says a crossword about Andrew's moderation, that he's been unfair, allowing even left-wingers to come on his channel and have a fair shake at debates. But the goals that we align with is understanding that we want the right wing to actually be dominant in these spaces. That's what we want. We're tired of all the institutional benefits that come with being a left-winger, and we want to remake the landscape to ensure not just success for Andrew Wilson, not just success for me, not just success for the other people on the Crucible, but up-and-coming right-wing content creators, including those that haven't even started channels right now. That's the goal. We want cultural victories, we want political victories, we want real-world change, and we want to dominate this space. We want to crush the people that we debate. We want to have fun. We want to build a community where even people that aren't streamers feel part of it. And Andrew Wilson's done 99% of that work already with no help from me. And I am honored to be part of that. And so I couldn't be more thrilled to have, at a time where I was in a very bad place with my job, where I'm still in a very bad place when it comes to a person that's near and dear to me that I support having difficult health situations. That's still obviously fresh on my mind. But when it comes to the insecurities that I had about what the future of my job would be, to have someone like Andrew Wilson reach out to me almost immediately like that and say, how would you like to be an employee of the Crucible? I mean, that I will never forget that till my dying days. That's the type of character that someone like Andrew Wilson has. And so seeing as how I already agree with him so much politically and so much culturally, the respect I have for him and the energy and the effort that he's put in his channel, the skill that he has, I am honored to be a member of the Crucible and to be working for him. And it's really a humbling thing, and I can't speak highly enough of him. I really can't. Primarily, what we'll be doing is things like research, debate preparation, etc. When it comes to the content of my channel, he's completely hands off. My channel will still be my channel. My goal is to help Andrew Wilson completely demolish and crush every single person he debates. I don't care if it's some rando that calls into his channel one night. I don't care if it's some sort of like drama debate that he's having. I don't care if it's Sam Cedar, Cenk Uygur, whatever on the biggest platforms. That is my goal. That's what I'm working with Andrew Wilson to do. In addition to that, to do real world events, to help drive the culture and politics in the right direction, and to help the Crucible community in any other way that I can. That also means that it will give me more free time because I won't be working 100 hours a week at some other job, that I will be able now to be a full-time streamer on top of that. So what that means for my channel is consistent stream times, consistent content, every day of the week, not having to worry about, I have no idea when I'm coming home, so I can't set up debates. I can't set up these sort of things with other people because I have no idea when I'll be able to stream. That content's going to be 100% totally left up to me. The content of this channel is not going to be changed whatsoever because of the business relationship that I have with the Crucible. Now, is it true that most of my content would be liked by the majority of the Crucible community, and most of the Crucible's content and Andrew Wilson's community is liked by the people that watch me? Yes, that's true. It absolutely is. but it's sort of irrelevant to sort of the business relationship that we're discussing here. So I'm absolutely thrilled, not only to be working with Andrew Wilson and the goals that he set forth to be dominant in this space and to make this a space where we could see people that we agree with culturally and we agree with politically now have groundwork being laid where they don't have to face the same institutional bias that people like Andrew have faced, that people like me have faced. But also so that we could just crush some of the most smug lefties that you see over and over again and move the needle in this country even further to a place where we want it to be culturally and politically. And I am thrilled to be part of it. It brings me back to my days as a debater and a debate coach, staying up until the wee hours in the morning, trying to help someone win a debate, doing research for someone, even if I myself was not in that debate. I love that stuff. And I'm thrilled to be back in that seat again and be doing that. But I'm also thrilled to have an opportunity to bet on myself and to be able to grow my audience and make this my primary source of income, because I think that this takes away that excuse I had of, well, I just don't have time. I just can't do it because I have to provide for my family. That's gone now. Now I have the time to bet on myself, and that's exactly what I'll be doing. So as we move forward, I will be asking members of my audience opinions on the types of shows they would like to see, the format that they would like to see, and most importantly, the time frame that they would like me to, or the time slots that they would like me to stream in. Now that I will basically have time to make my own schedule, would people rather see me stream later in the evening? Would they rather me stream earlier in the evening? Also, I think as someone who's going to be working for Andrew Wilson, it doesn't really make sense for me to be overlap streaming Andrew. It's not a big deal. He wouldn't care, and I don't care either. But seeing as how so many people in each of our audience may want to hear the other person, it doesn't make sense to split that audience by streaming at the same time. So maybe I'll stream after Andrew Wilson's normally done finished. That might mean that I start streaming at 11 p.m. Eastern every night and do at minimum a 2-hour show until 1 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Eastern. Or maybe it means I'm coming on before and I'm still streaming like 7 p.m. to 9. Or maybe people would rather see me earlier in the day. Those are questions that I'll be asking my audience going forward. I'm also proud to say that I'm going to continue to have Black Elk as an editor of mine. We have some great ideas coming up of content that we're going to be working on, including debate review shows, some other great ideas that we have where we now have more freedom, because not only can we collaborate more because we both had full-time jobs and my job was crazy, and we worked at sort of opposite times, so it's very difficult for us to find time to communicate. Now we're going to have much more time to be able to communicate and actually build a brand and build sort of the direction we're going as a show. Does that make me Robin to Andrew's Batman? God, I hope not. Maybe I'm more like Obi-Wan to his Qui-Gon Jinn. Maybe that's. But I cannot speak highly enough of Andrew Wilson. I think that, like I said, the opportunity that he's giving me to really help me out, to make me an employee so that I could do what I love and hopefully grow his brand, help him continue to. And I'm not conceited enough to think like, oh, now with me working with Andrew Wilson, now he'll be able to accomplish things. No, Andrew was going to accomplish great things without me. Don't get it twisted. He already has. His growth is almost unprecedented in this space, particularly for a right winger. It's unbelievably remarkable. But I will be happy to be part of that and do anything I can to continue that. And I'll be happy to continue to grow as a brand and as a channel myself as well. And like I said, I don't think that I've said this even before any discussion of me working for Andrew came about. I think that so many people on these online spaces put this facade out that they're these great, nice people, and then they can't wait to stab you in the back. It's almost hilarious how it's the opposite with Andrew. He has this reputation, particularly for the people that have ever disagreed with him. He's cutthroat, ruthless jerk. But then any interaction you have with the guy, he's like actually one of the nicest people that you'd ever meet. He is the only person in this space that is objectively a larger online like live streamer than me, objectively bigger, who has followed through with every single like promise or favor that I've ever asked him for. Every single time. He is the only one. And I know he's done that for other people as well. And so I just can't I can't speak highly enough of the opportunity. And my way of showing my thanks is going to be to do my job to the best of my ability. And if I don't mind saying, when it comes to sort of streaming, when it comes to debating, when it comes to preparation, now that I'll have time to focus on that, I think I'm one of the damn best people out there. I think my record as a debate coach back in the day will show that. I think I'm very good at that sort of stuff, and I can't wait to get started. And so that's what's going to happen. Now it's you know, it's a dark cloud with a silver lining. The fact that this became necessary, which is something that I always wanted, but the fact that it became, my hand was forced because of unfortunate health situations, sucks. And it's still going to be on my mind. And I will never be out of that person's life that I've been working with. And I'm not immediately leaving. For anyone who's concerned about that, I will still be employed, but my hours will be cut remarkably down, and I'm going to be switching to more of a supplemental member of that team as opposed to a direct caregiver. But I will not give up on that person, and I'm still praying that they make a comeback. And it is sad, but to focus on the positive, I think that it does put me in a situation where, I mean, this door opened, and it's all thanks to Andrew, who saw me talking about sort of asking for prayers. And it's serendipitous, and maybe it is part of God's plan that this offer opened for me. But it was because Andrew reached out that I was able to finally make this decision. So I'm very thankful that. Let's get to some super chats. I know I missed some. So Corey Barton said, Andrew gave me the most accurate compliment. Yeah, it was on Alex Stein's show last night, and both him and Alex spoke highly of me. And I really like Alex as well. So I'm very humbled by both of their compliments to me. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Abject Fool for $5 said that is there somewhere to donate so YouTube doesn't take 30%? I do have to talk to Andrew. I know that he has some other ability, some other payment systems that he has used in the past. So I'm going to talk to him and see if he could give me any recommendations on like how he takes donations, what the platforms are. So you might see a change coming up in the future. But again, make no mistake about it. The goal here isn't, well, Andrew Wilson's going to help me build my channel. That's irrelevant to me being an employee of Andrew Wilson. Right? I'm doing my own channel. It's my own thing. Right? So it's not about, oh, Andrew, can you help me fix my channel? That's not the point. But I'm sure as I talk to him and the members of the Crucible, sort of some of those tips and tricks they have of like the best ways for donations to come in, it's something that I'll probably be changing here in the future. Some of these I'm reading again, but that's okay because I think they're relevant now that I gave this update. Mr. B said, sorry to hear about your job, but the silver lining is now your channel gets to grow bigger and you get to work from home. That's exactly it. And so I think that's prescient, and I appreciate that comment. Mr. B for $5, thank you, says, I'd 100% be okay with legalizing every single illegal immigrant if it meant Pisco and his son were deported. Interesting. Jack of Trade say, can we listen to selections from Kanye's new album? We already did that one. Like I said, probably not on here. Are we not men? Thank you so much. Member for 3 months. Thank you. Says, let's effing go. Congrats, Rob, with the Crucible. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Mr. B, thanks so much for $10. Says, I was about to tell you to go F yourself, but now that you're part of the Crucible, let's go. Yeah, I'm not working for Progressive Victory. There was no amount of money. Well, that's not true. If they offered me like $10 million a month, maybe I could have pinched my nose for a year and, and then just crawled in a deep shamed hole for the rest of my life. But no. Wicked Wally, dad joke extraordinaire for $5. Thanks so much. Says that was an epic troll worth some money. Proud of you, Rob, and extremely happy. Thank you, Wally. Always appreciate hearing from you. Cole Vic for $5. Thank you so much. So does this mean you'll be pro-marital delicious purple beverage now? Just kidding. Congrats. I'm going to keep plugging your channel when I cover your videos. Thank you, Cole Vic, and I do appreciate that. Thank you. Lazy Eyes for $5 says, cheers, Rob. Well deserved. Thank you, man. Appreciate. Angel Berber for $10 says, yes, Rob, congrats. Andrew has a lot of faith in you and speaks highly of you in the road to other shows because he believes you're the next big influence in the space, and this will launch you there. Thank you. Again, I can't speak highly enough of Andrew and other people, Alex Stein. There's been other people that have talked highly of me, and I'm very appreciative of it. And will this give me an opportunity to grow my channel? Yes. And will Andrew help me grow my channel? I'm no doubt that he will try to do that. But understand, that is not the purpose of me working for Andrew Wilson in the Crucible. My purpose in that business relationship is to grow this online space, to grow the Crucible, to get cultural and political victories, and more directly, to help Andrew crush every single person that he debates. That is my goal. And that's what I'm going to be focused on first and foremost when it comes to that business relationship. Outside of that scope, me growing my channel and having an opportunity to bet on myself and to have time to do that, I think that that's really where I have the, hopefully, it's going to be up to me whether or not I could be successful. But I do appreciate it. Harbarg Nar for $20. Thank you so much. Says, I knew it. Andrew and Alex were both talking about you on Alex Stein's podcast yesterday. I was super happy for you, Rob. I'm super happy for you, Rob. These lefties can't deny your wizard powers. On behalf of the orcs, we got your back. Thank you. Always rather to be part of the orcs than the wizards anyways. Thank you. Mr. B, thanks so much for $20. Says, this is a dream team. This should actually be illegal. Andrew plus Rob's mine in a debate. Wow. Yeah, I can't wait. I think that I'm super excited to get started, and I can't wait to be part of his team. Psy Guy 33 for $2 says, this gets me super hyped, not one step back. Absolutely. Witch Doctor for $5 says, I hope you can now join the Not One Step Back podcast with Andrew and Jake. I think the three of you would make the best podcast on YouTube. Yeah, I've worked with Jake. I like Jake Rattlesnake a lot, and so I'd be willing to join that regardless of my relationship business-wise with the Crucible and with Andrew Wilson. But I agree. I think Jake's fantastic. I think the Not One Step Back podcast is absolutely fantastic, and I'd be happy to be part of it. I would. Galil, thanks so much as always, my friend, for $20. Says, congrats, Rob. It's been fun watching you grow over the years. My God, you almost got me to victory pack shit. Let's go, boys and girls. Yeah, not working for Progressive Victory, but thank you. I really always appreciate your support. John Beer, a member for 7 months, says, W must keep pushing the Vegemite and government cheese for all. Oh, Vegemite. Ugh. Wicked Wally again for $5. Thank you again. Said, let's be real. None of us, especially Andrew, was going to sit back and let Hank's Lego budget be threatened. Yeah, I think Andrew would have just sent me money if I was unemployed anyways. Not for me, but it would have been earmarked for Hank's dinosaur and Lego funds. So Zen's Forehead, always great to hear from you for $5. Says, welcome home, brother. Thank you so much. I can't wait to do more interaction with members of the Crucible's audience, even those that despise me. That'll be fun. Love trading barbs with those that yell with me, because you have to understand so much of me and Andrew's interactions, because we agree on 95% of sort of political and cultural issues, but we're also egomaniacs who love debating. And so when we're talking to each other, we look at each other as competent debaters that we love to debate because we love the challenge. And so many times when me and Andrew are interacting, we're arguing against each other. And so people from the Crucible, some of them take that as, well, we hate Rob or we hate his opinion on this. That's okay. I love that too. But no, I think that the Crucible audience will like me, and I can't wait to interact with them even more. I think it's going to be a blast. And I think that's one of the things that Andrew Wilson has done better than any streamer I've seen, political or not, is that he has truly built a community where you're not just a viewer, but you are a member of a community where you can interact with people in a way that's sort of unprecedented. And I think that that's very important. And that's not fake on Andrew's behalf. That's Andrew actually caring about the people that watch his show and understanding the importance of sort of this sort of camaraderie and coming together with people that share sort of religious values, cultural values, political values, because we see how bereft of those opportunities our culture and these online spaces are. So I'm very happy to be home with the Crucible. Cody Folsom for $5 says, congrats, Rob. This is great news. Happy for you. Thank you so much. Spiro, thank you again, man, for $5. Says, congrats. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I missed probably a lot of the non-super chats there, but I was sort of focused on what I had to say, and knew I would get to the super chats there at the end. So, but yeah, that's sort of that was my big announcement. So I believe I officially start work this Sunday, Mother's Day. A great way to start work. So I can't wait to jump in with both feet. I'm super excited. I kind of want to start now. I don't even care about getting paid. I love doing debate research. I love sort of building up these online communities, and I love doing everything we can to get these victories. So I'm ready. I'm chomping at the bit to keep going. I really am. Linebacker, thanks so much for $5. That's amazing. So excited for this next chapter. Remember us when you're third lake house and second yard. You dang right I will. Godspeed. Yeah, Alex mentioned that. Alex Stein mentioned that yesterday. When I get rich, that he'll be hitting me up for money. Look, I just want to be clear. Like, one of the things that I've already mentioned this that sets Andrew apart is he feels that as his success increases, that he's not just concerned with himself, but he's concerned with making this a space and paying it forward to other people that share these values on this space. And that's something that he's talked about for years when I've had conversations with him behind the scenes. And so I certainly would want to be part of that legacy as well. There is no guarantee that I'll ever become remotely as successful as Andrew Wilson or many of these other launch streamers you see. Maybe people just won't find me interesting and I've reached peak. I don't think so. I'm willing to bet on myself. But even if that is the case, I am committed to trying to help other people out in any way that I can and to pay it forward for other people as well. It's something that I've always tried to do in my channel, and I hope to continue that. And I would be ashamed of myself if I didn't. So if I do get a tremendous amount of success on here as a full-time streamer, I certainly would not forget anyone and want to continue to pay that forward, not just to the people that have helped me, but people that are up and coming as well. Andrew Starr, thank you so much for being a member for 3 months. Says congrats, Rob. Thank you. By the way, cute dog. It looks like my in-laws dog that they have. He's an old man now. My destiny will no longer be denied. Thank you. Andrew Wilson is bad faith. I disagree. I think Andrew Wilson's the opposite of bad faith. That's what I think. So now, does that mean if I review a debate with Andrew Wilson and someone else that I will not give my honest opinion? No. But let's be honest, I was going to be biased to probably side with Andrew anyways, because we share so much in opinion and cultural and political values anyways. And I can't speak to what my subconscious bias may be, but I think you'll be surprised that if I am talking about debate performance he had, that I might be harsher than you would think. And I think Andrew expects that. I think that the last thing he would ever want to do, it would defeat the utility of sort of associating and working with people if you just wanted a yes man. So certainly that's not what Andrew would want. And but yeah, I look forward to being on that. We see a lot of people that are complaining about Christian nationalists. I'm not a Christian nationalist. My channel will not be Christian nationalist going forward. However, having said that, I probably agree with 95% of what Christian nationalists believe. But if people feel that because they don't like Andrew Wilson's political, religious, cultural values, that they could no longer work for me because I'm employed by him, see you later. All I could say is judge me from what my content will be as you see going forward. If you think that I'm changing because of that, maybe I will be. I don't think that that's my intention. I don't think that'll be the case. But hey, I think Andrew Wilson is one of the most authentic people that I've seen in this space. I'm happy to work with him. And yeah, so if that means that I lose certain people in my audience, I guess so be it. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Angel Berber, thanks so much. Member for 7 months, says the Crucible Network will showcase you in big ways. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And I know they'll help me. And make no mistake about it, they've helped me even before I was an employee at all. One of the guys that works with the Crucible completely fixed my camera setup here free of charge on his dime, or with no money, on his own time. So, I mean, they've always been there to help me out. So, I really appreciate that. So in the near term, what does this mean? Well, I'm going to start streaming 5 days a week. We're going to talk maybe tomorrow with the stream. We'll talk about this, setting up some of those questions that I have. Robert Whaley, thanks so much for the $10. I really appreciate it, man. Always appreciate your support. But what I'm going to be looking from the immediacy from my audience is primarily the first question I have is, what is the time slot that you would like to see me streaming? I'm thinking I'm leaning towards later in the evening. I'm leaning towards starting at 11 p.m. and then streaming till 1 a.m. and then making exceptions for any time that I'm giving an opportunity to debate someone. So if someone says, hey, can you do a debate on my show at 8 p.m. Eastern time? Yes, I could always then have the opportunity to come on earlier and do that debate, but still have my regularly scheduled time. That's sort of, I don't know what people think about that. 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern might, that's a time that I could do, but that might run into when Andrew's streaming on a normal evening. And I'm trying for selfish reasons, first and foremost, to not stream at the same time as Andrew, because I think that a lot of the audience that I'm likely to gain will be people from the Crucible's audience. And if it comes to watching me or Andrew, they rightfully, seeing as how they've met me through Andrew, are likely to watch him. So I don't want to stream. Obviously, there will be overlap. Obviously, the nature of Andrew being so busy and doing so many debates is that his schedule is erratic. Maybe he'll have a debate at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and then the next night he might have a debate at 10 p.m. Eastern time. So he's obviously going to be streaming at different times given the nature of that. But when his normally regular scheduled shows are, or other people on the Crucible, etc., I would like to not have my normal shows overlap with that. Andrew Starr, thanks so much for $5. Says, you deserve this, man, and Andrew's a good dude. The Crucible wants big things from you and expects big things. Thank you. They should expect big things. I can't wait to do that. I do not think I will let people down. Yes, if Andrew's on whatever, I do know that schedule, obviously. Cody Folsom says, do 6 p.m. That's what's best for me personally, which is most important. That, of course. Also, I was considering changing the color of my house, so I'll be calling you for that, Cody, as well, to see what you... But no, I appreciate it. That's sort of what I'm looking for, people telling me what times would work for them. Do I know why the Destiny Andrew Wilson debate didn't happen? I've heard some scuttlebutt about it, but I don't have anything confirmed. I've just heard from sort of one side of the issue a little, but I'm not going to talk about it. It has nothing to do. Andrew and or Destiny have direct knowledge of it, and modern day debates, I'd leave them talk about it. So I've just heard third-hand stuff, so I don't have any first-hand knowledge of that whatsoever. Yeah, so I will be part of the Crucible. Yeah. Paint my house red. My son Hank's favorite color is green, and he threw a fit today because the T-ball bat that they had for him was either blue or red. He has a green bat that we bought, but we left it at home accidentally. So next time that green bat will be taken along. So don't worry about it. So I could I'm so sorry, Jaira Tadatis. Thanks so much for being a member again. Says, keep in mind Andrew's night owl tendency. I know. That's why I thought maybe 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. would work. And then I could always stream earlier than that if I had specific collaborations or debates. Are we not meant to just stream after every Crucible stream? Yeah, but I can't do that because consistency on my channel is going to be important. So I can't just be like, hey, if the Crucible ends at 4 a.m., I'll be streaming 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. If it ends at 10 p.m., I'll be streaming 10 p.m. So I have to have a regular scheduled time. You know, go up against Owen Schroyer's schedule, maybe. But yeah, those are the sorts of things I'll be asking. 2 a.m. Listen, is it possible, since I'll be setting my own schedule, that I can stream 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. or something like that? That's a possibility. I could. I would sooner not be getting to bed at 4 a.m. and then like sleeping in naturally until like 10 a.m. I would sooner not that. Andrew Starr, thanks so much for the $2. Says 4 to 6, 6 to 8 are both wide open for content. Tim's at 8. That's a possibility. I think what would most make sense is to have a time that leads into the Crucible and Andrew's show, or a time that's occurring after. But yeah, I think avoiding that time slot's the most important thing. And 4 to 6, 6 to 8, those are both possibilities. The only problem with that is most collaborations are going to occur probably around 7 to 8 p.m. Like if you're doing a debate or something, that's when most of the people set that up. Another thing that this is going to mean is you have no idea how many times I've turned down debate offers because it's like, can you stream on Saturday? Well, no. Can you stream on Mondays? Well, no. Now, as long as I'm given enough time, clearly now that I don't have this brutal work schedule, I could make adjustments. Sure. There's nothing that would stop me from streaming on a Monday night, a Saturday night, a Sunday. Now, normally, I'll probably not be streaming on the weekends unless there is something like a debate or something that comes up. But Tenko, man, great to hear from you. Thank you for the $10. Says, congrats, been a subscriber since before the summer of love in 2020. I remember quite well. Thank you, man. Says, happy to see you realize your dream. Now time to put some flannel on and dominate. Maybe I will go with flannel. That'd be a good look for me. Just flannel all the time. Leading into the Crucible, I think, is a good idea. I think that's absolutely a good idea, and it's something that I may try to do. do a show competing with Tim Pool's. I don't want to compete with Tim Pool right now. Look, part of building this sort of online space, there is no one that I 100% agree with. That includes Andrew Wilson. That includes Rachel Wilson. That includes Tim Pool. That includes Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Steven Crowder. There's no one that I 100% agree with. And I'll certainly criticize anyone in those groups when I think that it's warranted for me to do so. However, if my goal, in part by being a member of the Crucible team, is to build these online spaces so that we could have people that share our cultural and political values, which there won't be anyone that has 100% of my cultural or political values, but people that are closest to that, to have them have a space and a community that could grow, that I'm not really trying to straight up attack or go after or spit in the face of, or even it's not nefarious to directly compete with people if I could avoid that. I think that's not necessarily best for my brand anyways, because maybe a lot of people that watch Tim Pool would be likely to watch me. And if I'm directly competing, that would mean less people watching for me, but also for the online space in general. Wouldn't it be nice to know that you have a solid block of programming that you could start at like 6 p.m. Eastern and straight through till like 2 a.m. There's going to be someone streaming that at least you sort of have a political affinity for, whether it be Tim Pool or Andrew Wilson or me or any number of these other people. I think that would be a great thing. And I think that helps sort of the camaraderie of building this brand up in totality, which is something that I'm interested in. In addition, I think the fact that I'm streaming full-time not only means that I can take more debates, but it means that I'm given more time and flexibility for reaching out to those bigger channels like Tim Pool, to people like Piers Morgan, to people like Steven Crowder, and having opportunities to not just do their shows virtually, but also to do real-life events. Because the number one impediment to me doing real-life events is my brutal, ridiculous work schedule. If there's only 2 people that work in my home healthcare house, what that means is if I take a week off work, my coworker has to work 11 days straight. And it is incredibly difficult to find any time off. So I can't tell you how many times I've had requests, not just for the channel, but I try to stay active here in Pennsylvania, in the political scene in Pennsylvania. And I've been given tons of offers to go to real world events where I just can't go because of my work schedule. So for me, I think that this will really open up an opportunity to do more shows like Tim Pool's show more frequently. And I'm looking forward to those opportunities. So, obviously, there's no guarantee. I haven't reached out to Tim Pool, or anything like that they're like, yeah, if you quit your job and then we'll have you on more. Nothing like that. But I think I'll be afforded the opportunity to not just grow my channel, to not just have more debates and more consistency, but to actually have time behind the scenes to be building those relationships. And hopefully through my talents and showing how good I could be. And I think I will be better. It's not just that I'll be more consistent with the streaming. I think that I'll be afforded more time where I'll actually have more preparation, and particularly the debates, the big debates that I'm doing. I think I'll have more preparation and be even more successful in that. So it's definitely an interesting sort of opportunity to look forward to grow in my channel in ways like that as well. So yeah, that's sort of maybe that'll be tomorrow's show. Maybe not. Maybe we'll just do a call-in show tomorrow. And then maybe Monday we'll talk about like ideas that members of my audience have for when they would like to see me stream. We'll put some polls up, things like that. See if we can get an idea to set in stone what my schedule is going to be, the types of show people would like to see. I think obviously the majority of my content is going to be shows like before talking about my channel tonight, shows like that where I focus on 1 or 2 subjects, talk about that. That's going to be majoritarily politically oriented. But I think it would be interested to once in a while branch out to other stuff too, whether it be sort of fun community stuff, drama stuff once in a while, or maybe sort of reviewing certain things or more focused on a cultural issue here or there. But we'll talk about those sort of things. I also would love to do more debate reviews. And I think I'll be afforded that opportunity now because I'll be more consistent and have more time to prepare for that sort of thing. So maybe once a week, we'll do a debate review. That could be a debate that occurred in the online sphere, a Piers Morgan type debate, any sort of thing like that. So I think that that'll be something that'll be interesting. And I've already talked to a couple people. I don't think you would mind me saying I talked to Grid Motorsports. I know that he has some shows that he's interested in that I'm talked about collaborating with him here in the near future. So I think that that's something that'll occur. I know Admiral Gibbs, we've certainly had our differences when it came to specific debate strategy, but I like Gibbs and I think he's a right winger. I know that he's trying to do sort of a debate show where they have debate judges. I would be interested in being a judge. I certainly would be interested in being a participant in a debate show like that. So I'm always going to put my focus on helping those sorts of people that are closer to me politically and culturally than helping left-wingers, though I'm not saying, I'm shunning every left-winger. I'll never do a left-winger show. I'm not saying that. But let's be honest, on to bigger and better things. I don't need many of these left-wingers that have in many ways treated me like crap in the past. I don't need them. And if I choose to interact with them, I will choose to do so on my own volition. But by no means do I feel like that I owe them something and that I, need them. I don't. So Salty Cracker says, get at him with Salty. Yeah, I'd love to talk to Salty. Maybe that's something that I'll be able to do. So, yeah, that's the idea. I also want to do more collaborations with people that are in the right-wing space or people that I enjoy that I haven't interacted with much before. I'll tell you, one of the first people I want to talk to is BX Bullet, who I think her work on this 764 sort of like satanic cult stuff that she's been talking about, that now we see the FBI doing arrest. Well, she took so much grief. I think that that's amazing. And I would love to talk to her about that. There's other people that I would love, that I think you guys would love, that I don't know that you've seen, because maybe they don't do as much live stuff. They do more sort of edited, like small video things. I'll give you an example. My friend Let's Be Frank, my friend Drone Tech Politics, my friend Sarah Kane. I think these people are phenomenal. And I think that I would love to do collaborations with them. Andrew Starr, thanks so much for $5, says, you're for an hour before Andrew would be great, but you also need to set a time daily. I think 4 to 6, because that leaves evening time for other activities, debates. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I intentionally leave that sort of 6 to like 9 slot open and I'm not normally streaming then if I'm given opportunities for like actual debates, panels, etc., that's usually when those occur. Excuse me. The other thing is, I haven't talked to this person, but I see them in the chat right now, so I'm going to bring them up. I think it would be nice to have someone who's like basically a super mod that could do things like help me raid after I'm done. And the first person that would come to my mind would be EOD, who I see in the chat right now, who I think is not only one of my favorite people to talk to and has a phenomenal show in his own right, but that has been as much of, someone who's pushed me and, sang my praises and been someone that, has always supported me. I would love, and I'll talk to EOD. This is the first time I'm bringing up. He's not heard me say this, but I'd be interested in talking to EOD behind the scenes and see if he'd be willing to be like the primary mod on my channel when I'm streaming, if we set those times up every day. And where he could do the raid, he could be the one who, no questions asked, he's in charge of the moderation first and foremost. I think that would be phenomenal. And I know we talked about in the past, one thing that I've talked about, I think the best format for me would be to have a co-host. I like sort of the situation you used to see with Dan Bongino, where there's a co-host that comes up with like stories of the day, basically reads what those stories are, and then allows me to give response to those stories. So 90% of it is me talking, and then the co-host is doing the hard work of coming up, finding the stories that they want to talk about and then allowing me to give my opinions. The reason that's difficult is, who the hell wants to be the person that only talks like 10%? I wouldn't. I'd be the worst co-host in the world. I can't shut up. I would be least qualified to be a co-host than pretty much anyone you could imagine, because it would end up being me just talking the whole time and the host of the show being like, dude, can you shut up? It's not your show, right? But I think that that's a fantastic format that would make the tone more conversational and assure that I'm talking about sort of subjects that aren't repetitive every single day. But and it also takes a lot of work off of my shoulders, because it's someone else coming up with the stories and the topics that we talk about. So it's something that I'll be thinking about in the future, maybe offering something like that. So I'm excited. I think that it's an exciting opportunity for me. If I'm totally honest with you, I'm sort of heartbroken and bummed out. that I'll be leaving the field of working with people with intellectual disabilities. But through factors outside of my own control, health factors, and I have to think of my family first and foremost. Even though this will be a significant pay cut for me, there is the potential, if I bet on myself, that I could grow my channel to where I could recoup the money that I'll be losing from no longer being in that line of employment. But also, more importantly than that, I think that my mental and physical health will improve because it'll be far less stressful to be doing this. It's something that I'll look forward to doing. And most importantly, what kind of husband and father can I be if I'm gone 100 hours out of the week, every single week? And so I look forward to being able to spend evenings every week with my family, every day with my family. I look forward to that tremendously. It's become harder and harder to look my child in the face every day or every week when I have to leave for work, knowing that I'm not going to see him for 3.5, 4 days. And to anyone who's in those sort of lines of work, I have a friend who works on oil rigs. He's on 2 weeks, off 2 weeks. He doesn't have a child, but he does have a long-term girlfriend. It's so tough. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for people that are leaving loved ones weeks at a time, months at a time in certain fields. So I really do. The Green Soldier, thanks for $5, says, Rob, this is more like Daredevil Spider-Man team up. There you go. That's a better. Congratulations. This is massive in the debate space. You're one of the best joining a pro. Yeah, thank you. That's exactly how I look at it. So I'd work with the quartering, Radical, this is kind of funny. Radical Croter says, to be fair with the Crucible, you have the opportunity to help a much broader group of people with intellectual disabilities. It's funny. I'll give you that. That's a funny joke. So, but yeah, that's sort of some of the things I'm looking forward to. I'm very excited. It is a bummer what's going on. And again, I'm not leaving my job immediately, but you're going to see an immediate difference, right? It is not going to be. So for the next couple weeks, you may not see me streaming Mondays or Tuesdays, but understand that that's not because I'm doing the same work. That's probably because of my own volition. I am at a medical facility, sitting beside and praying for someone who's going through a really difficult medical situation. Unfortunately, in this line of work, what tends to happen is because power of attorney and things of that nature, if you're not an employee, sometimes it's difficult to get into these serious medical facilities, whether it be of a psychiatric nature or a physical nature, to be bedside by people that are there. So for the immediate short term, I need to keep that avenue open. But you're going to see that transition. It's going to begin sort of immediately. And you're going to see me, barring unforeseen medical circumstances, you're going to see me streaming 5 nights a week starting now. That will be completely written in stone within 2 months, that I will be officially out of my capacity at my current job. So transition starts now. The other thing is, I haven't talked the ins and outs of this with my work. I still have to talk to them, but I literally have 5 weeks of vacation saved up because I'm never able to take time because of the nature of the job that I do. Says, what if streaming doesn't pay your bills? Well, we talked about this last night. If my number one most important thing to me in life at this point is to be a provider for my wife and for my son. We've saved up some money. People's generosity on this hobby of mine on this channel have afforded me the opportunity to save up some money. Thank you so much, Robert Whaley, again, for the gifted memberships, 5 of them. Thank you. By the way, HN, my job does not allow me to cash out. So we're going to have to work something out when it comes to my vacation time, but I'm not allowed to cash out that vacation time. But because I'm not providing care right now, because of a medical situation, I don't think they would mind me taking that vacation time because, if I can't make a go of this full time, if me being an employee of the Crucible and me streaming full time on YouTube is not able to pay the bills, if that's what ends up happening, then I'll have no choice but to get a new job. That's what's HN. Thank you so much, man. I know we have our disagreements, but I always appreciate you being here. It helps to have someone that disagrees to keep you a little grounded. And I do appreciate the financial support. So thank you, HN, for the $5. Robert says, sorry, I don't have Jess Gerald money. I don't know if few people do. A part of me thinks Jess Gerald's Trump or Elon Musk, the way that he helps not just Beam, but other people in this community. I'm always humbled by Jess Gerald and his generosity. But Yeah. I mean, basically, it's difficult for me because I don't like to ask for money much. And this has always been a hobby of mine. But if I'm honest, seeing as how this will be my primary source of income, I will judge how long I'll be able to do this based on how much income I get. And so if I'm not getting enough money to pay the bills, then what that would mean would be I would probably continue to be an employee of Andrew Wilson. Then I would have to get a second job, and then streaming would come after that. So that would mean in that event, I would have to cut back on streaming, and I wouldn't quit. It would probably look a lot like what it's looked these past 3-4 months. I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope betting on myself, I will be able to increase my reach and increase the amount of money that I'm getting through this channel. And that will be enough to pay my bills. Hopefully I end up making exactly as much or more than I was making at my previous job. But as long as I can pay the bills, there's certainly things in my life, that amenities that I'll be able to cut back on. Part of being gone so often from my family was when I'm home, I want to do things like, let's go to the zoo, let's go to the water park, let's go to the ball game, let's go to the movies. Maybe we cut back on some of those things because we could have more of a relationship back here at home with my son. So there's certainly things that me and my family are going to talk about. Taking a big risk like this, guaranteed income that we're substantially cutting, and then taking a risk like this, certainly there are decisions that we're going to have to make financially and go through some finances to make better decisions to tighten our belts right now. But I'm hopeful that I'll be able to make enough money betting on myself through this channel. So I guess it'll rely on the generosity of the people that are donating. If you can't donate, or if you don't choose to donate, don't worry. It's not that I'm going to quit my channel completely if I don't get donations. Like I said last night, there are tons of people that I would love to donate to. I just don't have the money. Right? If it was up to me, I'd be paying Black Elk like $30,000 a month, but I don't have the money, right? I would be donating money to like Drone Tech Politics, Let's Be Frank, Sarah Kane, right? All sorts of people. I really would. EOD. I'd be paying all these people tons of money if I had that sort of extra disposable. So by no means, I totally understand it. The world's tough, and I understand that not everyone has money to give. Totally get that. So, it's not let the chips fall where they may, but I'm hoping that I'm able to make a go of this financially. John Barrett for $2. Thanks so much. Says, hope the sewing machine is getting a good workout. Needs repaired. The sewing machine does need repaired. So that's something hopefully I'll get done by Mother's Day here. But yeah, I should just contact Jess Gerald and just do a show just for him. He's so generous. Mr. Ubercross lately as well has given me a ton of money. But yeah, I know that working with the Crucible, look, the idea of me working as an employee of the Crucible and Andrew Wilson isn't to grow my channel, but that is a happy accident that will happen with all the things about. But they don't owe me anything. My employ is to grow that audience, or is to help Andrew accomplish everything that he wants to, help him crush people in debates, right? And furthering that, to help cultural and political victories in this online space and that end up occurring in the real world. That is the primary goal of my employ. My success on my channel is completely irrelevant to that. That doesn't mean that there's not significant overlap. There clearly is. There's my man, Mr. Ubercross. Thank you so much for the $20. Says, still feels like we're barely talking about jurisdiction. Oh, well, good luck going pro. Thank you, Mr. Ubercross. Yeah, not a lot of jurisdiction talk today. That probably me and you are the only people interested in this channel whatsoever that care about that sort of nuanced discussion. But I still liked it. I love those sort of meta discussions. Yeah, the infamous sewing machine. So that's it. I'm probably going to let you go. I got to go check on my man. Like I said, he was super tired after his first T-ball practice today. So we got the schedule. We're pumped for him to doing T-ball. I think today would be the least fun he'll have doing it because it was a meet and greet and there were so many kids there. So even at practice, like if your turn to hit the ball off the tee, you had to wait like 15 minutes till you got your turn again. That's a lot to ask of little kids. Hey, sit here patiently in line for 15 minutes. So we're hoping going forward that it'll be, I think his team's going to have like 6-7 people on it. So we're hoping a practice then looks like instead of waiting 15 minutes, you're waiting 2 minutes till you get to hit the ball again. So we're really looking forward to that. So thank you once more to all the kind words, the generosity for the people that donated tonight. Really, it is one of the greatest feelings in the world is knowing that people are supporting you. People like what you do. People appreciate what you do. It's been mentally a trying time with me at work, primarily because someone that I deeply care about that looks to me for help maintaining their health is going through a really difficult time. And so you have no idea how much just having a distraction to be able to sit up here and stream and having so much kind financial support, kind words that are being said by people, it really means a lot to me. And it's, always first and foremost comes my family. And I'm one of the luckiest people in the world to have the family I do. And the support that my wife gives is everything to me. It really is. But I'll tell you this much, it's a damn great second runner up to see so many people in this community that support me. So I'll always appreciate it. I thank you for the people that gave me the courage, that have suggested for years that I try to make a full-time go of this. And so I'm not going to let you down. I'm going to try my best. I'm willing to bet on myself. I think my skill is such that if I'm putting actual time and energy into this channel, that I'll be able to accomplish good things. And if I don't, at least I'll be able to say, you know what? I put the energy in. I tried to do that. And I damn well know that I'm going to be an asset to the Crucible and to Andrew Wilson, and that he's going to shoot to the moon with or without me. I am incredibly, incredibly thankful for the opportunity he's given me. And I know that he is one of the best people in this space that's going to continue to grow by leaps and bounds. And his rising tide is going to raise so many ships that we have political and cultural victories in on this space for years to come. So I'm so happy to be a part of that. And I'm going to jump in with both feet to make sure that I'm an incredible asset to him, to the Crucible, and to this online community. I'm not going to sit here every night and talk about like, oh, what am I doing for the Crucible today? What am I doing for Andrew Wilson today? Or discussing financial arrangements. All of that stuff is out. What I will say is that I'm an employee of Andrew Wilson and the Crucible. I set forth the goals of why I've been hired, of sort of what our goals are, and that's it. So there is no secret about it. That is fully my intention, to be as transparent as possible. I would do that with any organization that paid me. And so I'm so thrilled to have someone who's not only given me this opportunity, but then still, without batting an eye, without a question, hasn't asked anything of the creative direction of my channel. Andrew would not care at all if my show tomorrow night is, here's 2 hours of me bashing Andrew Wilson's stance on insert whatever issue. He would not care. He would say, why don't you come on and debate me about it, coward? That would be it. It would not for a second be like, oh, you can't say that. He would say, hey, man, your channel, say what you want. And you have no idea how freeing it is to be working for someone where that's the case. The number one question you have anytime you go to work for someone is, well, what is the creative control that you have over sort of the direction that I'm doing my own stuff? I told you about this when back in the 2020 campaign, I was actually offered a job by the Trump administration, very low level, sort of working at the county level. It would have only paid like $20,000, and it was only through the tenure of the election, which meant that I would have a job for 3 months. I would have had to quit my job. It just wouldn't have been worth it financially. But I thought about, if I could do that on top of my job, could I make it work, blah, blah, blah. But the deal breaker was, they told me you cannot stream. You cannot have a social media presence while you're working for us. And I understand why. They were afraid that someone goes on and streams and starts dropping hard R N-words or something like that. And then all of a sudden, well, wait a minute, the Trump's team employed this guy who said all these heinous things on his live stream. But I couldn't do that. I could not give up my creative control of my channel to go work in that capacity. And so it is absolutely freeing to do that. Alex says, Rob, what if you overshadow Andrew? I don't think that there's a chance of that happening, at least in the short term. I think that I have strengths that I'll tell you straight up, I think there are things I'm better than Andrew at. I think that when it comes to politics debating, I think in general, I'm probably better than Andrew. I think there's no question when it comes to theology or philosophy, Andrew's world's better than me, right? But one of the things that Andrew has that I still need to garner much better is Andrew is not, he is simultaneously a natural entertainer. And I think I have part of that, I do. But it is unquestionable that Andrew Wilson is must watch, like him or hate him. The entertainment value is through the roof. So I don't think there's a chance of me overshadowing him in that capacity. But what if it did? I assume you're asking, what would Andrew think? I don't think he would care at all. I think he'd say, that's awesome. Great. I'm glad to have had a part in that. And that's his character, and one of the reasons that I'm so excited to be working with him, because that is legitimately who he is. That is who his character is. He is not someone that's going to sabotage because he feels, oh, well, if this would be promoting, I mean, I've dealt with Andrew behind the scenes for years, right? You could believe me or not believe me. That's it. Everyone's going to make up their own mind about those judgments. But I don't think for a second that it would remotely cross my mind that all of a sudden, I started streaming and there's more people watching me live stream than Andrew, that he would be embittered and be like, you're fired. I'm not working with you. You owe me all of this stuff. I don't think for a second that would be the case. And it certainly would never be the case with me. If EOD starts helping me moderate and then all of a sudden people are like, Rob's show sucks, but damn, EOD moderating is crushing it. And then all of a sudden they start watching EOD more than me. I'd be like, that's awesome news. Absolutely fantastic. Good for you. So, and I'm that's one of the things that's so inspiring about Andrew, that he's laying the groundwork for other people's success. And yeah, he's having success himself and he's doing a damn fine job of it. But I don't think for a second he would be the type of person that would be petty if that groundwork helped other people, whether it be me or anyone else, end up with more viewers than him. I think he'd say, that's awesome. I'm so happy that I could be a part of that. So maybe I have the it factor. We'll see. So yeah, Jimmy B. And again, I don't think that you'll see me. Look, here's something that's weird about me. I say this to my wife all the time. I've never cheated on my wife. I find cheating to be despicable. I've never remotely been close to cheating on my wife. But if I'm honest, can I say 15 years from now, I would never cheat on my wife? I hope so. That is who my character is now. But if you're honest, who knows what you will become? That's why trying to live without sin and trying to live as a Christian is so important, because through little falters could lead to big changes that change your character. Now, what's that have to do with what I'm talking about? I don't think that all of a sudden I'm going to become this Christian national channel that's, talking primarily about religion, cultural issues. I don't think that that's going to be me. I think that, in fact, I think that it makes sense that I not become that. I'm not trying to do a poor man's impression of Andrew Wilson, and no one's asking me to. Again, the content of this channel will continue to be completely my own. It has nothing to do with me being employed by the Crucible or Andrew Wilson. And I would be foolish to try to change the content that I'm offering, because the one thing that I have, I've said this for years, the number one thing I have as a content creator is that I'm me, and I am authentically me. And that might mean that I'm an idiot, and it might mean that I'm petty, and it might mean that my voice is annoying and I yell too much. Now, all that's true. It's all true. But I'm me. That's the only reason to watch me, is because this is who I legitimately am. So I don't think that there's any danger of me. I can't say that. You might be like, 2 years ago, I heard you say this, Rob, and now every night I tune in, you're talking to Jay Dwyer, or you're talking to, all you're doing is talking about religion. Maybe, but I don't see that coming. I don't. So I don't think that me working with Andrew Wilson, I'll be more likely to do collaborations with the Crucible, right? But I don't think that you're in danger of seeing that my content change significantly in that manner. But says, cheat on your wife and become president like Trump, and you'll be forgiven not by my wife. So, all right. I think that's it for the night. So thank you so much. I appreciate all your support. Can't wait to jump in on this. And I think it's gonna be a real exciting journey, and I'm happy to have you all with me. I think it's gonna be good. I think that you guys are gonna like what I'm able to offer, and I just can't wait to make you all proud. Project VO, getting some super chats here in the last minute. Hey, send me the money. Send me the money here real quick before I leave. Thank you, Project VO. It's always great to hear from you. Thanks for your support again. For $5 says, you're going to the moon, bro. Andrew introduced me to you, and I stuck around. I've studied your debate style to help me out with my debates. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And like I said, I'd be more than happy to talk with you. Maybe we could schedule something regularly, like a month. I think it would be great. I'm going to have more time for content, and, even I get sick of hearing myself so much. So it's nice to interact with people that you appreciate and that you have an affinity for. So I'd love to keep talking to you, Project VO. Maybe we could set something up normally. Will I be considered an orbiter of the Crucible? I would say no, based on how I would define an orbiter. I don't know that employee is orbiter. To me, that's different. I think you could call me an employee of Andrew Wilson and of the Crucible. Maybe I was already an orbiter, I think I'll be around the Crucible more. But for me, saying someone's an orbiter implies that they're not an employee of. So that's right. The grift must continue. I'll be happy. I'm happy to be a grift. Oh, and I did mention this last night. One thing that's slightly changed is when streaming becomes your livelihood, the priorities change than when it's your hobby. Now, I don't think that that's going to markedly change the vast majority of the content that I put out, but maybe that means that I'm more careful about things that elsewise could get my channel demonetized or banned. So maybe that means if there's people in the chat, I have a quicker trigger finger if they're calling for violence, if they're using slurs, things like that, that I know that YouTube may potentially say, hey, we saw this was in your chat and you didn't do anything about it. So things like that. And maybe it means avoiding words like the name of that particular disease in the pandemic, or certain topics or words related to like the most grotesque sort of assault of particularly a woman that you could imagine. But I think that people understand that those are things that, most people try to avoid for terms of service anyways. Java Crow says, if I'm an orbiter and you're a Crucible orbiter, does that make me the moon to your Earth and Andrew the sun? Orbitception. The Modelo virus. Yeah. Poor Modelo. I think Modelo's killing it after Bud Light dropped the ball, right? There you go. Bolsanya says, I had no idea about Andrew Wilson until I started watching Rob. There's at least one Crucible fan that met them through me. So there you go. So tomorrow's the Griff stream. I hear my man downstairs, so I'm going to head out. I appreciate you all. I really do. Thank you so much. It is humbling to have your all support. Please send me those sweet, sweet dollar bills. Remember, if you ever want to send a PayPal, which actually takes less of the money than YouTube, my PayPal is just at Robert Knorr. And I'm going to make sure that we do better with branding, with those sorts of things going forward. Maybe we'll even have some merch that we'll be making and things like that. Definitely more community interaction. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you all so much. Special thanks to Andrew Wilson for the opportunity he's given me. And let's get ready to kick some ass, because that's what's going to happen. We're going to the moon with my channel. We're going to the moon with Andrew Wilson and his channel. He is going to continue to crush all of these people he debates, and I'm going to be more than happy to be there cheering him on and helping in every way that I can. So looking forward to working, looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. And as always, have a good one.